Influencer Paul Kim's son, Micah Kim, has died at just 5 years old, and the heartbreaking reality of this loss continues to echo across social media, faith communities, and households around the world. What unfolded over a matter of days became a devastating reminder of how fragile life truly is, and how quickly something ordinary can turn into an unimaginable tragedy. This is a story that has stopped people mid-scroll, brought parents to tears, and forced many to confront how suddenly everything can change. Micah's story began quietly, the way so many childhood illnesses do. A child feeling unwell during flu season is something most parents have experienced. A fever, fatigue, maybe a cough. Nothing that immediately signals danger. At first, there was no indication that this illness would become life-threatening, no warning that time was already running out. But within a short period of time, Micah's condition worsened dramatically, moving with frightening speed from discomfort to crisis. Paul Kim revealed that his son suffered a sudden medical emergency that required an ambulance ride to the hospital. Sirens, flashing lights, paramedics rushing, moments that parents replay endlessly in their minds afterward. From that moment forward, life as the family knew it stopped. Everything else faded away. Schedules, responsibilities, plans, and normal routines no longer mattered. There was only Micah and the desperate hope that doctors could save him. Doctors soon confirmed that Micah was battling a severe and aggressive case of influenza. This was not a mild flu. This was not something rest and fluids could fix. It was a strain that overwhelmed his small body with terrifying speed. Complications followed rapidly, stacking one on top of another. Seizures began, sudden and uncontrollable. His organs struggled to keep up. His brain was affected. What should have been a routine recovery became a relentless fight for survival. Micah was admitted to intensive care, where machines took over the basic functions his body could no longer perform on its own. Ventilators helped him breathe. Monitors tracked every heartbeat. IV lines delivered medications all the clock. The constant beeping of machines became the soundtrack of the room. For Paul and his wife, the hospital became their entire world. Days blurred into nights, time lost its meaning. Meals were skipped, sleep was rare and shallow. Every moment was focused on Micah's breathing, his heart rate, and the smallest signs of change. Paul Kim made a decision during this nightmare that would later touch millions of people. Instead of retreating into silence, instead of grieving privately behind closed doors, he chose to share the journey publicly, not for attention, not for sympathy, but for prayer. His updates were raw and emotional, often recorded with red eyes, shaking voices, and exhaustion written all over his face. He spoke as a father watching his child lie motionless, surrounded by machines, while hoping against all odds for a miracle. Each update carried a heavy emotional weight. Some days brought cautious optimism, slight improvements, hopeful signs, moments where it seemed like Micah might turn a corner. Other days brought crushing setbacks that erased that hope entirely. Paul described holding Micah's hand, feeling its warmth, talking to him even when he couldn't respond. He told him stories. He reminded him how deeply he was loved. He sang to his son, prayed over him, and stayed by his side, refusing to leave him alone in that hospital bed for even a moment. As the days went on, doctors delivered news no parent ever wants to hear. Medical imaging showed extensive brain damage. Neurologists explained that Micah had no meaningful brain activity. The words were clinical, careful, measured, but the reality behind them was devastating. Paul later shared that hearing this information felt like the ground disappeared beneath him, like the world he knew had suddenly collapsed. Despite the grim prognosis, the family did not rush any decisions. They asked questions, they sought second opinions, they prayed relentlessly. Paul spoke openly about the internal battle between hope and acceptance, between wanting to hold on at all costs and wanting to spare his son further suffering. He admitted that there were moments of anger, confusion, and disbelief, moments where faith felt heavy, moments where nothing made sense, emotions that countless parents watching could deeply relate to. During this time, an overwhelming wave of support poured in from around the world. People who had never met Micah prayed for him. Parents held their children tighter after reading Paul's updates. Messages arrived from strangers saying Micah had changed the way they viewed life, faith, and family. Some shared stories of their own losses. Others simply said his story reminded them not to take a single moment for granted. Paul acknowledged that this global outpouring of love gave him strength when his own strength was completely gone. Christmas arrived while Micah was still in the hospital. There were no festive gatherings at home, no laughter around the tree, no excitement of opening presents in the living room. Instead, Christmas was observed in a hospital room. A small tree stood beside medical equipment. Soft prayers replaced celebrations. Paul described the moment as both heartbreaking and holy, a reminder that love and faith do not disappear even in the darkest circumstances. As the 11th day approached, the reality became impossible to ignore. Micah's body was no longer healing. The machines were sustaining him, but he was not recovering. Paul shared that the family faced the most painful decision of their lives, whether to continue life support when there was no chance of recovery. No parent is ever prepared for that choice. No words can soften it. It is a decision made with love, heartbreak, and unbearable grief. In his final update, Paul spoke with a voice heavy with sorrow. He announced that Micah had passed away. He said his son had gone home, using words shaped by his faith, but the pain behind those words was unmistakable. A father who had spent days fighting publicly for his child was now saying goodbye forever. Paul described the moment as the hardest thing he had ever experienced. He spoke of holding Micah, kissing him, telling him how proud he was, and thanking him for the joy he brought into their lives. He thanked everyone who had prayed, supported, and stood with the family through the nightmare. He said that while his heart was shattered beyond words, he believed Micah was no longer suffering. Shortly after, Micah's mother shared her own message. She spoke about the silence that filled their home after returning from the hospital, the absence of Micah's laughter, the quiet where his footsteps used to be, the ache of seeing his toys, his clothes, his place in the family. She described the pain of waking up each day knowing her child was gone, and the struggle of moving forward when part of her heart would always be missing. Yet, even in her grief, she spoke about peace, about believing her son was safe and deeply loved beyond this world. Micah was one of 6 children, and his siblings were deeply affected by the loss. Paul mentioned the heartbreaking challenge of explaining death to young children, of answering questions that have no satisfying answers. He spoke of holding his other children while grieving one, trying to comfort them while feeling completely broken himself. Parenting through grief became another layer of pain the family had to face. As the days passed, Paul reflected on the impact Micah had already made in just 5 years. He said his son's life had brought people together in prayer, kindness, and reflection. He believed Micah's story would continue to touch lives, not because of tragedy alone, but because of love, honesty, and vulnerability. The story also sparked serious conversations about childhood illness. Many parents admitted they had underestimated how dangerous the flu could be. Micah's case served as a sobering reminder that even common illnesses can become deadly, and that awareness, vigilance, and early care are crucial. Paul spoke openly about grief, explaining that faith does not erase pain. Grief still hurts. Loss still breaks you. He said grief comes in waves, sometimes gentle, sometimes overwhelming. He encouraged others who had experienced loss to allow themselves to feel, to mourn, to cry, and to seek support. He reminded people that strength does not mean silence. In later reflections, Paul shared that his life would never be the same. The future he imagined for Micah, the milestones, the birthdays, the dreams, was gone, replaced with memories and unanswered questions. But he also spoke about choosing to honor Micah's life by continuing to love deeply, live honestly, and support others who are suffering. Micah Kim's story is not just about loss, it is about the bond between a parent and child. It is about the courage to share pain publicly. It is about the power of community in moments of heartbreak. It is a reminder that behind every public figure is a real family with real struggles and real grief. As time moves forward, the Kim family will carry Micah's memory with them in every milestone, every holiday, and every quiet moment. The grief will not disappear, but neither will the love. Love remains. Memory remains. This story has left a lasting impact because it speaks to something universal, the fear of losing someone we love, and the hope that love continues even after goodbye. Micah's life, though short, mattered deeply. His story changed people, and his memory will continue to live on through those who heard his name, followed his journey, and held him in their hearts.